Yeah, what's going on, everybody? This is CaseStudyQB, and we are the political junkies back at it again. And if you're here with us, then you're a political junkie too. Welcome to the show. I'm going to say what's up to my peoples: Felipe, John, Izzy, Carlito, and we got Gabe. And Felipe, how you feeling, my man?
I'm good. I'm good.
All right, we got an echo. I'm not sure where that's coming from, but we'll figure it out. John, how you doing?
Good, doing good. Ready
All right,
for the
John
show.
doesn't have an echo. Good. Carlito.
No, I'm doing good. I gotta say though, I always do my peace up, 8 time down. I gotta throw my phase also. For my phase clan, Call of Duty League. Already won the first matches.
My Knicks is playing your Hawks, so we gotta finish up this show quick. We're gonna end early now. I'm just kidding, but we'll see how that goes. Gabe, how you doing, my man?
Not doing so good. Anthony Davis has a Achilles injury that they're gonna have to sit him for a month. So holding my breath right now. But other than that, politically also not good. So we could talk about that in the show.
Nancy Venture is in the chat. What's up, Nancy? Izzy, how you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. I watched the Judas and the Black Messiah last night. I was amped and angry. Today I watched John Oliver, so I'm feeling a little bit better, but still angry.
Okay. Nice. Yeah, we're going to have a little mini discussion on Judas and the Black Messiah. I saw it as well, and I thought it was a very interesting movie, very good movie. So we're going to touch on that. So the first things first, I want to do the first trivia, actually. We're going to go into this trivia segment. And basically, it's a different than what we've been doing so far, all right? So let me bring up the screen right here. Boom. Trivia. And I want you all to guess who this is. And we're going to try to go fast. So whoever can guess it first, and the last person, I'm going to give it to the audience. And you guys are going to see what I'm talking about right now. All right. Boom. Who is under the mask? Whoever shouts it out first.
Bowman.
All right, so Carlito got
Congresswoman?
that. Oh, my bad.
Wow.
Who's this?
Ayala
Presley.
Oh, Izzy got that one. Okay.
And
Yang.
Yeah, okay. A lot of people got that one.
Yang.
Pelosi.
Pelosi.
Good morning.
All right, so this next one is not a congresswoman, but this next one is an actual pundit. I'm giving you guys a clue. Independent pundit.
Crystal
ball.
Carlito got that one.
Oh,
okay, I wonder. See, I was going to leave this last one for the audience, but I'm curious if you guys can get it now, because you guys are so good on getting all of these. All right, let's see.
Audience. It's for the audience.
No, this is for you guys. I'm curious.
Oh, Katie Porter.
Okay. All right. So that you guys killed it. So next week I'm gonna have to get a little harder. I'm gonna have to make it a little harder. All right. So that's the first round of the trivia, and so the first discussion that I want to have with everyone. Let me go back to you guys. All right. Boom. So let's talk about the movie. We had the movie Judas and the Black Messiah.
You want to do the rapid fire first? Get it out of the way.
You want to get the rap? Let's do this mini discussion, and then I want to do a quick trivia, and then we'll do rapid fire. All right. Cool. So the Judas and the Black Messiah, right? So it's about Fred Hampton, the Black Panther. And how he unfortunately passed away. I'm sure I'm not spoiling anything. Pretty much, I would hope everybody knows the story. But in the trailer, it kind of gives an idea of what was going on. And Izzy, I know you watched it. What you thought about the movie?
I thought it was really well done. I had seen a few Black Panther documentaries in the past, so I'm far from an expert, but Fred Hampton always captivated my interest. He was such a young, charismatic guy who, seemed like he really wanted to bring good to the people just by doing good. Like, he wasn't a militant. He wasn't a radical terrorist like the FBI made him out to be. And I think that the movie did a pretty good job of telling his story and then also showing how wronged he was, not just by the FBI, but also by, an informant who happened to be working with them. So very well done. Kind of scary when you think about what it means to be a revolutionary, what it means to be someone who is fighting for the people, and how that basically puts a target on your back, no matter who you are, no matter where you are. I mean, especially if you're a person of color. And so it's scary when you think about it that way.
Yo, the chat said no spoilers or spoiler alert.
I don't think I gave any spoilers away.
Yeah. So
I mean, we know what happens.
Yeah. What I thought about the movie, I thought that two things, right? It seems like if you don't have a vice, the only way they can get rid of you is to kill you. Like if you did drugs, if you was a philanderer or anything like that, or even I was about to say in the movie something happened, but I'm not going to talk about that. But basically they try to get stuff on him, and he was such a good person. Like the only thing I saw that he did was he smoked cigarettes, which is not illegal. And so they had to kill him. It seemed like that was the case, The other thing that I saw, I want to discuss with you all, was the FBI described the Black Panthers as the KKK, which is like the KKK is the far right, and they say, oh, Black Panthers are the far left side of that equation. Like I'm thinking about if we brought it to terms of what's going on today, where they say, Black Lives Matters. I don't even know if they even got a meeting with Biden yet. They're the ones that's on the far left. They don't have any guns. They're strictly nonviolent as far as I know. But the Black Panthers were basically just doing self-defense when it came to them using the guns. Like, what do you guys think about if the Black Panthers were prevalent today? I kind of foresee that the left independent news media would kind of try to stay away from them, or trying to look at them like almost like people that you can't even have on your show. Like what, or maybe is it just me? Tell me what you guys think.
I mean, you don't have to guess, because you see how Black Lives Matter is treated when there's no guns. Imagine a group of militant, Black men and women who are really just, fighting, like you said, defense. They would be calling them the American Taliban. They would be calling them the biggest terrorist group America has ever known. And even though they're fighting for defense, so we can see how they would be treated today through the way that all other left and movements are treated.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so
turn your mic up too, Gabe, a little bit more. Go ahead, Carlito.
Yeah. The mainstream media, what they're gonna do. They're gonna just stay away, and every time the right does some kind of false equivalency, they're gonna kind of. I was gonna say pussyfoot. I don't even know if that's even a curse. Whatever. They just kind of tiptoe around it. Whatever. But even when one of the lawyers for Trump during the impeachment, even though he was saying things like, "Oh, that's not related to the case," when it was one of his arguments, he was talking about when comparing the Capitol rioters, aka domestic terrorists, he was trying to equate them to Black Lives Matter movement, even though they had nothing to do whatsoever with the impeachment trial. So, they do it all the time, and they're going to keep on doing it.
Yep, 100%. 100. All right, let's keep it moving. I'm going to bring up the next trivia right here. Boom. True or false? Since becoming president, Joe Biden has stopped pushing for extradition of Julian Assange. True or
false?
Also. All right, so that is correcto mundo.
So for those who don't know.
Wait, hold on. Right. I said, you said false, but it's true.
Oh,
it's true, actually. But I almost messed that up myself. Since becoming president, Joe Biden has stopped pushing for extradition so he has stopped the pushing. And let's read this. Biden administration. Oh wait, did I put it wrong? I'm sorry. Because it says Biden administration continues to push for Julian Assange extradition, so it's false. That's my fault, guys. That's my fault, guys. I didn't change
Steve Harvey over here today.
Steve Harvey.
Steve, I'm taking it back. You guys not getting the award, the pageant award. Yeah. My bad. All right.
So I was gonna go into a little thing for those who don't know who Julian Assange is. He was the main publisher of WikiLeaks, and he worked to get a lot of the leaked information out that pretty much helping whistleblowers, and because of that, he actually won awards when he was releasing information about Republicans and conservatives. But after he started coming up, releasing information about under the Democratic administrations, that's really when he became an enemy of the state. So it's no way it's going to be a false, because we have a Democratic administration in power right now, and WikiLeaks is enemy number one of the Democrats.
Absolutely correct. So we're going to go into Carlito's rapid fire. You ready for us, Carlito?
Ready, Freddy.
Ready. All right, let's go right into it, buddy.
So first story. New York nursing home gave dozens of veterans experimental COVID-19 treatments. Some families had no idea, by Dean Russell at the city. So the New York State-run facility in St. Albans, Queens, administered a cocktail of hydrochloroquine and azithromycin, despite safety warnings and doubts about efficacy, and they didn't notify family members. What do you think of that?
So that last piece that you said is the big caveat here. So I was reading through the article and I was like, I kind of want to play devil's advocate here, because these deaths did happen at the beginning of April, which was a long time ago at this point. There's a lot we didn't know at the time. We knew about some risks with hydroxychloroquine and azithromycin being used together, but still, I mean, there was a lot that we were just trying to figure out. But, to your point, Carlito, these people they're in nursing homes. Many of them have Alzheimer's or other, inability to be able to make their own decisions. And their families were not consulted, were not even told what was going on, and they were just being given this experimental treatment. It's one thing if you consent to it and you understand the risks, and it's another thing when they're doing this to people that are in nursing homes who can't really consent, and they don't even reach out to their families to get their consent. So, it's just, we have to reiterate that this is a state-run facility, a New York state-run facility under Cuomo's watch that was doing this, and not that they necessarily got the direction to do it, but it's just it's not a good thing at all.
And they were veterans on top of that. So it's insult to injury.
But it seems like throughout history, I'm sorry, I'm just going to jump in real quick. Like, they experimented with Agent Orange. Our veterans back in the day, they had Agent Orange. So it's like our veterans, we just don't treat them well at all. That's what I'm going to say. Go ahead.
Yeah, and the guy who was the subject of this article, of course, he's also black. So you add, he's a veteran, plus you add Tuskegee, plus you add, all the things that have happened to people of color, especially women of color, with the sterilization. It's just there's good reason why it's hard to get people to really want to be vaccinated at this point who have a history of being exposed to this kind of treatment.
Yep, 100%. Go ahead, Carly.
To be fair, there were also some white elderly people that also got it too.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the problem isn't experimental treatment. The problem is who is consenting to that. If you consent and you know the risks, and your family knows the risks, you might still take it. You might still not have the great effects, but at least you were aware. There has to be better communication. It's a shame that happened to these people.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Second article. Trump's tweet attacking Pence came right after learning his VP's life was in danger by SV Data HuffPost. So a statement from Senator Tommy Tuberville shows Trump turned his mob against Pence minutes after hearing his vice president had to be hustled from the Senate. So Trump already knew that Pence was in enough danger that he had to get evacuated, and he still tweeted that he didn't have the courage to overturn the election. So it just shows that he knew what's going on and he didn't care.
No, Trump looks out for number one. He takes care of people who look out for number one, Donald Trump. And the fact that Mike Pence didn't, he turned the target on himself. He knew what he was going into, and Trump just turned his people against him. He doesn't care. He has no shred of humanity left.
I can't wait until some of these people get turned on by Trump. Okay. So third article. Denver successfully sent mental health professionals, not police, to hundreds of calls by Grace Hawk at USA Today. So the START program, which launched in June, reported promising results in its 6-month progress report. The program aims to provide a person-centric mobile crisis response to community members who are experiencing problems related to mental health, depression, poverty, homelessness, or substance abuse issues. Over the 6 months of the pilot, no calls required the assistance of police and no one was arrested. defund the police.
I mean, this is a no-brainer. You wouldn't send a police officer to put out a fire, so why would you send out a police officer to handle a mental health call? And the successes that they had, nobody arrested through these mental health calls. I think it's just a small pilot that we need to expand in more cities and throughout the country. If somebody's in mental health distress, you need somebody who's trained for that. You don't if everything, what's the saying? If you only have a hammer, everything looks like a nail, and that's the police. They only have a hammer, so it doesn't matter if you're in mental health distress. They're gonna sometimes use that hammer instead of being more patient, and that's why we need those trained professionals.
Yeah, and not only nobody was arrested, nobody was killed by the cops.
That's what I said. Nobody. It said nobody was killed by the people. No, they said nobody was arrested by these people.
Yeah,
because they didn't call the cops.
Exactly.
So what I'm saying,
but they could end up
better.
calling after. If they had an issue that they couldn't resolve themselves, they would then call the cops for help if somebody was being too violent and belligerent. So there were no arrests.
Right, but also nobody was killed. That's what I'm saying. More importantly, because if you call the cops, that could happen. I mean, once you're dead, there's no point in arresting you.
That's it. Yeah.
So next one. Clearly, there was a strategy behind this. AG Barr nixed Derek Chauvin plea deal in George Floyd case. So there was a video from the Roland Martin show on YouTube. Attorney General William Barr blocked ex-Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin from pleading guilty in George Floyd's death. Officials say Barr rejected the plea deal because he felt it was too soon and the investigation into Floyd's death was in its early stages. Officials told the Associated Press that the former police officer was prepared to plead guilty to third-degree murder in George Floyd's death before Barr blocked the plea deal last year. So the strategy could have been to use the Black Lives Matter protests as a way to ratchet up police response and claim that the Democrat cities are violent in order to help Trump's re-election chances, and also to increase surveillance powers. So this guy could have been in jail already, but AG Barr blocked it just for political purposes. Imagine. None of the, crap that they complain about buildings being burned or whatever, it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for them. Because all people want is accountability,
Yep, definitely.
Next one, intimidation tactic. Georgia officials investigate groups that mobilize Black voters, by Sam Levine at The Guardian. So Stacey Abrams' New Georgia Project accused of not handing documents in on time in Republicans' latest targeting of the group. So even though they didn't want to cheat, as much as Trump wanted, Georgia is still cool with voter suppression as usual. So another of the groups, there's a second case where a group dealt with canvassing it was called the Georgia Coalition for the People's Agenda. They played an instrumental role in registering new voters. The canvasser allegedly submitted 70 false voter registrations while working on behalf of the group. Now, Helen Butler, the executive director of the group, said the group themselves caught the forged voter suppression applications, the forged voter suppression applications in 2019, and that she was the one who reported the canvasser to the Secretary of State's office for investigation. That fact was unmentioned in the press release from Raffensperger's office announcing the referrals. So during their due diligence, they wanted to be careful. They got all the voter registrations. They double checked them. Anyone that looked weird, they took them out. They told the authorities, and the authorities are using that as an excuse to go after the group themselves.
Unbelievable.
They can't be having Georgia going blue, so they're gonna have to step up their efforts, because Georgia going blue is unacceptable. So you're gonna see a lot more suppression happening. They thought they had enough suppression the time they blocked Stacey Abrams from becoming governor. They're gonna double down right now, because they're gonna try to take back the Senate very soon.
They threw 200,000 voters off the rolls illegally, and they never fixed it all the way, and they still lost. So now they're just doubling down.
Right now, the Dems have one chance in 2022, and that's HR 1. They will not survive 2022 without something like that.
I disagree. I think they have multiple chances. They have the chance of passing stimulus checks. They're already 2 or 3 or 4 weeks late on that. They could pass a $15 minimum wage. That would be a great boost in 2022. They could do student loan debt cancellation. There's so many things that they could do. I just saw a video the other day.
Though. People right now have a short-term memory. Like, it does not matter how much Dems give them within maybe the next 6 months. if it doesn't last until 2022.
Or
HR
give
one
recurring checks.
is moving forward.
That's-
HR one gets everyone in the country registered to vote. It ends gerrymandering. It makes sure that elections are fair, which is the exact thing that ends Republican terror.
You could do all that, but again, if you don't even give people their money, they ain't going out to vote.
The other
Right
thing,
now,
Felipe,
it's not even
wanna
scheduled.
remember.
They're not even. It's gonna be March before this thing passes, man.
yeah, it's not
People
going to be
gonna-
until March, and then also HR1, because it's not like under reconciliation, that's got to get passed the regular way in the Senate with the filibuster or with the supermajority, right? So you're going to need a certain amount of Republicans to vote along with that, and I don't see that happening.
Imagine trying to
I
come
believe there's a world that Joe Manchin gets convinced to nuking the filibuster.
Go ahead, Gabe.
He's been on multiple news outlets saying he is not going to do that. He stands
Yes.
for, I forget the guy's name who first started it. He's not going to change his
He's
mind.
not gonna change it.
The Dems weren't planning on winning both Senate seats in Georgia. They were planning on winning one and blaming the Republicans. So now, instead of doing that strategy of just blaming Mitch McConnell, now they're going to say, we're just trying for unity, and they're going to make the same mistake Barack Obama did in 2008 and negotiate against themselves
It's not
all the way until 2022, until they lose either the House or the Senate or both. And then we're going to be back where we were in a
It's not a
stalemate.
mistake, man. They only care about the White House because that, they know where the sausage gets made. They don't want to have that responsibility. So they want to win the White House. They don't care about being out of power in the House or the Senate.
I disagree with that. I think that they're just professional losers, but I don't think they want to lose. I think it's a little bit stupid. Like if you think about it, why would these people want to lose? Even if they're not
'Cause they don't
passing
get
anything,
anything done,
even
'cause
if they're
that's
not
not-
doing anything.
That's how you don't get.
Why
anything
wouldn't they
done.
want the
Because
power
if they
anyway?
lose the other seats, then their seat is not in jeopardy.
All right, let's
But
say this. Let's say
But
this.
if they win the seats and don't do anything, then their seat becomes in jeopardy because they can get a progressive challenger that comes in and goes, look, they were in there and they didn't make it happen, so vote them out and put me in.
Listen, let's say that they don't want to lose. They want to win. They want to win their way. They don't want to win by giving people what is guarantee a win. They want to just squeak by giving half measures because they know if they give, the progressive things that people actually want, then their donors are going to be unhappy.
Exactly.
fair.
That's it
That's
right
an argument
there.
I can get behind.
That's it right there. And I was exactly going to say that exact point, but Carlito said it beautifully. So I'm going to move on to the next trivia question. All right, let's bring it up right here.
I like that meme you threw up there for a second.
Yeah, I threw that up. That
I'm going with Richie Torres.
All right, here's the question. Which Congress person took compensation from their campaign fund after saying they did not plan to? So they...
Come on, man.
I know the answer is Debbie, but I'm gonna go with Richie Torres.
Okay. Anybody got
I gotta
anybody
represent
else?
South Florida, DWS.
Okay.
Gotta be
Anybody else?
I'm gonna go with Rich. I actually think it was Richie Torres.
Okay. All right. So the answer is
Why should be Jamal?
Oh, I knew it. I knew it was going to be a curveball.
That's a curve.
Jamal Bowman. So the thing about this one is that this was a post, the New York Post. So they're a conservative rag or whatever, but when they're right, they're right. And what happened was in the Intercept, there was an article where he said that he was going to forego getting compensation, or he didn't plan to. But that article actually was a very good article talking about how hard it is for people in the middle class or for people who are not rich to run. And so even though Jamal Bowman did go back on his promise, I want to read this quote. They did reach out to his campaign and they said this: while he wanted to try and live completely off savings as he ran for office, Representative Bowman, like many New Yorkers, has student debt and housing payments, and quickly realized losing 100% of his salary was unattainable. He took small stipends from the campaign as infrequently as possible, fully in accordance with all local and federal law, and believes we need comprehensive campaign finance reform that makes it possible for working people to run for office, reducing the number of multi-millionaires in Congress. So
that mistake was him saying he would do that in the first place.
That's what exactly.
That's the problem with politicians, right? They go in there and they tell you they're not going to do one thing, and then they completely go ahead and do something the opposite, and people start losing trust in them because they say, well, you said you wasn't going to do this, now you do it. And we get it. Yeah, he probably didn't plan, but he shouldn't have said it. Like, he should have known that he was not going to be able to just live off his small savings, especially in politics. So he should have said something along the line like, yes, I would try my best to not do it, but if the time comes, I will do everything that will follow the law. But this right here will cause people to lose trust on him.
When I run for Congress, I definitely will not be making that pledge. I will be taking a stipend. So
of course, you are what are you again?
Republican progressive.
Republican progressive.
Not a Republican progressive.
That shops at Amazon every day.
No, who was it the other day? The Pennsylvania. There was a great governor campaign from Pennsylvania. The guy that's running progressive over there, and he explains the issues perfectly. I'm going to highlight him for the next show in the shout outs.
He's a Republican progressive.
No. He's a progressive that just says things to the point, and that's what I admire to be.
So are you a Republican or not?
I am a FDR Democrat.
Yeah, so I think it's Is it Futterman? John Futterman? I don't know if that's his name.
You're a non-racist FDR Democrat.
He's running for the U.S. Senate, right? In Pennsylvania.
I think he's running for governor, no?
No, he's running for U.S. Senate in Pennsylvania. And I think it's John. But yeah, I know exactly what he's talking about. I support him.
I'll come ready next time. Let's not stop on that one.
No worries. And maybe I'll add him to our PSA because he's definitely somebody I'll support. And speaking of that, we want to support Nina Turner and we want to support Gary Chambers. And those are the special elections coming up. I'm looking forward to finding out what day that is the election day. So
we want to support our chat. Let's give some shout outs.
Yeah. Let's give a shout out to the chat also.
We got Public Citizen Limited talking about divided party, the Democrats is right. He's over on Twitch. Mm-hmm. We got Nancy Venture getting the right answers as usual. Oval Warner, the Urban Progressive. We got Bedon. Support policies, not politicians. Always.
Yeah. All right.
And Bedon, of course.
So I want to bring up
Case.
Go ahead.
1 second. Before, didn't you say Gary Chambers didn't have an issues page?
As far as the last time I checked, he has a website now. Oh, okay,
it's a priorities, not an issues, but it's there, and he has a lot of positions.
Nice,
beautiful. I'm gonna bring it up, but while we bring it up, I'm going to let's bring up the next mini discussion. So the next mini discussion that we want to talk about is, when will the next insurrection happen? So we had the first one, or of the first mini insurrection, if you could call it that, when they were about to attack the Michigan governor, right? They had the, I forgot the name of the organization. I don't know if it was the Proud Boys or whoever, but, white supremacists were going to attack her, and the FBI foiled that plot. And then we had January 6th, the big insurrection against the Congress. And now that, Donald Trump has been exonerated, we know that this is going to happen again. No one's getting punished. So when is the next insurrection going to happen? What do you guys think?
2022.
No.
2022?
Disagree. I don't think it'll happen until there's not a Democrat in office.
2024.
Joe Biden would not hesitate in sending shooters out there.
Let Trump run in 2024 and not win. That's when it's going to happen.
John, what you think?
Yeah,
I see you got the ugly face on.
No, I was just like, sometimes Felipe talk about Biden and
tell me Biden wouldn't stall calling out the National Guard. That's common sense, bro.
But bro, Biden is not even gonna know what's happening. Like, what are you talking about? So yeah, 2022 for sure. Yeah, I would agree with Carlito.
Let me throw out this curveball, right? So we were saved by the fact that the House wasn't held by the Republicans. Because what if the Republicans held the House, held the Senate?
You mean by the Democrats?
Huh?
It was held by the Democrats, you mean?
So it's currently held by the Democrats, but what if the House in the last cycle was held by the Republicans, meaning that they would have literally voted that Biden did not win, right? So that would have passed in the House, in the Senate that would have passed, and then that would have gave all the the messaging war would have went towards Trump to say, okay, look, we over, I'm the president now. Look, in the House, you know what I'm saying? You understand?
Yeah. Because the scary part of that is, if that would have happened, I don't trust the Democrats in Congress to fight hard enough to do it.
Exactly. Because we've seen that happen already with Gore. Al Gore in 2000. He at first he relinquished. He said that Bush won, but then for like a week he said, you know what, I'm going to jump back in, but then he quit again. And I remember the scene from a movie that Michael Moore did where it showed all the black congressional caucus in the House kept fighting for him more than Al Gore would fight for himself. And because he was the vice president, he was overseeing that hearing, and he had to gavel them down and say, no, Bush is the president. And then months later, as I'm sure Gabe knows, and he would tell us that, they counted, the newspapers got together and they counted all the votes in Florida, and they found out that Al Gore won all the votes in Florida.
So Public Citizen Limited on Twitch, he gives it a 75% chance because he doesn't think Trump was going to have the momentum going to 2024 because he's the only one that could motivate the crowd that way. But let me tell you something. We're talking a little earlier about this article I saw NPR. It says a scary survey finding 4 in 10 Republicans say political violence may be necessary. So the level of distrust among Republicans evident in the survey was such that about 8 in 10 said that the current political system is stacked against conservatives and people with traditional values. A majority agree with the statement. The traditional American way of life is disappearing so fast that we may have to use force to save it.
4 in 10 Americans are delusional, are mentally unstable.
Yeah, and they got guns too.
Full stop.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right, we're going to go. I don't know if anyone else has anything to say on this topic, or
I want to say this is freaking ridiculous. How every time, like some conservatives or white people in general, they not everybody, because everybody want to say not all white people, but I'm saying in general, every time there's a little bit of equality given to people that have been underrepresented or exploited, they feel like they're losing something. When in fact it's just trying to level the playing field, and it's just a bunch of fear and and jealousy.
100%.
That's in all aspects, though. Even right now, look at Wall Street. A lot of retail investors are looking and investing right now, and all they're doing, like right now, Congress is calling in Deep Effing Value, the guy who started and did the deep dives on GameStop. They're calling him in to testify in front of Congress.
They're not even gonna know what to ask, though. They're gonna be like, "What is Reddick?"
But let me say another thing. This is podcast. It's called Behind the Bastards, and they have a little spin-off that's called Behind the Insurrections, and they're talking about different insurrections that happened throughout history in different countries. And the one that I want to point out is like the famous one that I want to point out, because people seem to think, hey, Trump, this little January 6th thing, it didn't happen, so we're cool. Well, there is one that it was called the Hitler's Munich Beer Hall Putsch. And if I'm not pronouncing it right. So basically, they tried and they failed, like in January 6th. But what happened? They tried again and they succeeded. So don't think just because they failed, they're not going to try again.
Of course, I believe so. And I'm going to play this video, and I think this has a little bit to do with this topic. That's why I'm going to go to this video right here. All right.
Does the ending of the trial make it any easier for Joe Biden to get things done? And how much of what happens is going to be about what Garrett just said, those senators going home to their districts and hearing from their constituents?
I'd actually argue it makes it a little bit harder, and this is a new theory that I've come up with in the last couple hours, but I think that the Republicans are going to look to unify, and they're going to unify around an agenda that includes stopping Joe Biden. I mean, that's what we've heard in these last couple of days. I know Garrett and I were up on the Hill over the weekend, and we heard this a lot, that now they can focus on what they believe is a bad agenda by Joe Biden. So I have to imagine that's going to be the driving dynamic politically for Republicans in the next couple of weeks. And listen, there's a lot of things at stake here.
The reality is the polls show people want something done. Republicans, even voters, the polls suggest. Many Republicans want to get something done. So I absolutely hear what you're saying, which is what I've been thinking about a lot since the end of the impeachment trial. But how do you align those two things?
I'll tell you, polls also show that voters want immigration reform. They also want gun control. They also want a host of provisions, a host of public policies that will never get or that have not gotten enacted in the last decade. So we live in a society,
Chris, don't put a roof over your head or food on the table. I do think it's a little different.
I hear you on that. I hear it is a little bit different, but nothing is analogous completely. But what I would say is this, is that we live in a society, we live in a country where Republicans represent deep red states for the most part, and Democrats represent blue states, and there's some people in the middle. But in the House of Representatives specifically, people go home every weekend to very partisan districts, and many Senate Republicans go home to very red states. So I think that any cooperation with Joe Biden, and I'm not wishing this to be so, I'm just reflecting conversations that I've had, any cooperation with him is perilous, I'd say. That's the reality on Capitol Hill.
What you guys think about
can I
that?
say something super quick?
Go ahead, Felipe.
It's the epitome of white male privilege to say exactly what everyone knows will happen, i.e. Republicans obstructing Joe Biden, and call it, I've developed a theory. No, this guy just plainly read what happened.
Yeah. What else? What do you guys think?
Oh, snap. Yo, Felipe was quick.
What happened?
You were quick. You never quit. You said, let me say that real quick. You always say forever.
And never get to the point.
I mean, he touched on exactly why you can't work with Republicans in this case. You have your 50 votes already in the Senate that you need to get whatever passed. You have the majority in the House. You have the presidency. So it's time for Joe to enact his agenda, whether it's through budget reconciliation and whether it's through abolishing the filibuster. And you do it now. You pass policies that are good for the people now, and then you deal with the consequences later. They go, oh well, the Republicans are gonna then do the same thing later. They'll probably do it anyway. They're not gonna not do something because we did it. You know, like they blocked the Supreme Court justice for a year, and then when it came up to them, they got one in 2 weeks before the term was up. So you know that Republicans don't go by any rules; they go by their own rules that are going to get them power. So because of that, you can't waste every minute that we waste trying to get them on our side for the agenda. Is a minute that puts us closer to losing in 2022 when people aren't going to be paying attention. We saw last week on this show how many people are already posting, oh, I'm glad to be back at brunch. Oh, I'm glad to be chilling right now and not paying attention to the news. And I'm so happy that I don't have to worry about everything. That's going to translate to 2022 poor turnout. And you know who's going to turn out? Is going to be all those Republicans. They're going to turn out the same way this time. And if we don't give our side something to come out and vote for, and we don't give something to the other side to come over a little bit, we're going to be looking at tremendous losses.
Yeah, the Republicans always cater to their base. And they know, like, I never met someone like when they're the minority leader that has so much power than Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell is always like calling the shots. He did it with Obama. He's doing it now. And this is the reason why we need to replace Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. Like they are weak. They constantly give in to Republicans. They don't fight for anything. And they always talk about unity and this, whereas Republicans are always like, I don't care about unity. I'm going to shove it down your throat. You're going to live with it and you're going to forget all about it because that's what my base wants.
And you hit on the head. Oh, go ahead, Izzy.
I was just going to say, Gabe, you talked about how they blocked the Supreme Court justice for a year. I mean, we also have, at least 6 years of them basically blocking every single policy, by Obama. So, it's we have this playbook already. We've seen this play out. We know exactly how it plays out. It's like we can predict the future. So yeah, to that point, there's no sense in working with these obstructionists. We already know exactly what they're gonna do. Back in the day, it was basically racism because we had a black president. Now the reason is different, but it's still going to be the same playbook.
So it's what John was saying is hit it on the head. It's not that McConnell has so much power; it's that we have weak leaders. Because if they really want to, Chuck and Nancy, they could do some of the same tactics that Paul Ryan used to do and that Mitch does now. So they could really do it if they feel like it, but they're just weak.
Yeah. What would Mitch do? I like that statement. Like, we got to take power by the reins. Like, right now, they have the 50 plus vice president vote to get things done. They could get the filibuster taken away so that we could finally do HR 1. I don't see any collaboration with Republicans to get HR 1 done or anything else. We got infrastructure that's supposed to be coming down the pike. That's something that Republicans should be for. But if they're going to be obstructionists, which is what we saw the video talked about, then we need to push them to the side. So the question is, can the Democrats market it enough, have the messaging, the media on their side, when the Republicans start to like say they're not for infrastructure, they're not for HR 1, would that give enough political capital for the Democrats to now say, Kristen Sinema, Joe Manchin, we need to get rid of the filibuster?
They're not going to.
I think it'll get to that point.
But again, like at the end of the day, they just have to go in and do it because they're going to lose regardless, right? Like right now, what people are thinking about is, you promised me a $1,400 check, $2,000 check, whatever it is. They won, and then we are here, 3 weeks, 5 weeks later, whatever weeks it is, and I still don't have a check. That's what people really going to remember.
Yeah.
So that's what Republicans do. If they know they're going to lose, they don't care. They just say, look, I'm gonna do whatever I have to do to get this tax cut passed right now, and we'll deal with whatever repercussions later.
Yeah. And you know what? They could say right now, Republicans could say that we gave you more money than the Democrats. Under Trump, they gave $1,400 way back with the CARES Act.
$1,200 plus $600, right?
$1,200, and then the $600
$600
plus
for kids.
Plus Trump wanted the $2,000. He was advocating for the $2,000 more than the Democrats for the most part. Bernie.
The Dems blocked him.
The thing is that
the Republicans didn't want the $2,000. They were convincing him not to.
Yeah, but you also got to understand this, right? Like, you saw that there's the Republicans show their hand. They show you, like 43 of them told you, like, it doesn't matter. We don't believe in it. They didn't convict Trump. Like, they already told you that's the answer that you need, that you cannot work with these people. Because I'd rather, like, I'll be okay if 2022 comes and the Democrats lose, and we say, well, at least we got something out of it.
Something. Yeah.
But we're gonna lose and we're not gonna get anything. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah. I had a tiny bit of hope because I read when Biden first came in that he was thinking about this issue, thinking back to the administration when he was VP for Obama, how the Republicans just obstructed everything. And he said he wanted to keep that in mind and not be kind of naive with the negotiations. But even still, he's talking about the unity and the negotiating against themselves and watering down the bills that could have passed last week, a month ago, almost not even, and he talked about it, but now he's not, walking the talk.
I think the next month is going to be the most indicative for Joe Biden.
Go ahead, John.
Because right now, yes, he has been meeting with the Republican leadership, but he made it clear, and his press secretary made it clear, he is not negotiating if they're not serious. If they're pulling this $600 billion crap instead of the 1.9 trillion that they're putting, he's not playing the game. He's not playing the game with disingenuous people.
But they're not serious already. So what's taking so long?
He's just wasting time.
What's taking so long?
The impeachment trial.
The Democrats are playing defense right now when they should be. The Democrats are playing defense right now when they should be pressing on offense. They should be pushing right now. And let's look at, just for example, the last minimum wage increase came under George W. Bush, a Republican president, and we've been since that time. We went down. Then Obama brought us back up. The economy kept going up. Then we went down coronavirus, but overall, we're still like pretty high. And we have to, like, the fact that the wages haven't gone up with that increase in the stock market is preposterous. So now imagine Joe Biden passes $15 minimum wage, not over 5 years, maybe it's over 2 years. You want to do some kind of phase in. But then 2022, 2024, what are the Republicans going to do? Okay, we're going to do a minimum wage decrease. How popular is that going to be? You get this policy in because then to counter it, to go back, they're never going to do that. You can't go lower the minimum wage after it's just like you can't, it's very hard to pass Medicare cuts and Social Security cuts. It's like once it's in, if we get that in, the people are going to be behind you, and the Republicans are kind of going to be with their hands tied because they can't go back on that.
Well, you know how it could happen. It's the whole grand bargain again with the Democrats' help, the Joe Manchins of the world. Yeah, so that's something that happen the other way around.
It can't happen, unfortunately. It just won't be popular.
Talk about it.
Well, that's why the COVID bill hasn't been passed before the impeachment, because they were negotiating against the Manchins and I forgot the other person's name that was Sinema. You know, so they, instead of kowtowing to Republicans, they kowtowing to dinos.
You gotta get them in the room and be like, listen, if you don't vote for this, you will not win your next election. We will take all of the money from all the races, and if we don't win any other race, you will be out of your race. That's what because your person will be flooded with money, your opponent. So be very smart about what you do, because and the only thing is that what's his name? Manchin's not out for 4 years. But when is Sinema up? You know, like we have to look at them and put the pressure on them to fear for their spot, because that's ultimately what they care about. They just care about their position more than anything. They don't want to lose. This is their
the problem with that, you say, because Republicans do that. The problem is that Biden, Schumer, Pelosi, they are mentioned. They're the same kind of centrist corporatists. So they're not going to force their hand because they believe the same thing.
I saw that on Twitter. Somebody put a tweet that Kristen Sinema put, I think back in 2014 or something like that, where she said, "Oh, we need to raise the minimum wage," right? And then now she's fighting against raising the minimum wage through reconciliation.
Bro, her term ends in 2025. We're screwed.
Listen, the way you do it, you got to find a way to put some fear on them. You got to be like, you know what, Republicans, you guys don't get on board, we're going to expand the court. Like, you got to put something that they fear, that they don't want to. That, like, even if you just like, that's why I always say Democrats are bad at politics, because they don't even fake it. Like, if you fake these people and you tell them, if you don't get on board with this and you don't pass this, we're going to expand the court. And all Democrats will be like, yes, we're on board. Even the Manchin of the world say, hey, even if you're not on board, just play along, because that's what Republicans do. I guarantee you they'll get on board, because they that's one thing that they fear. They do not want the court to be expanded.
All right, we're going to move on to the next trivia question. Throw that
Richie
here.
Torres.
Bernie Sanders ripped which sports league for cutting 40 minor league teams?
Oh, that's easy.
MLB.
MLB. All right, you got that one.
Because NBA only has like 25 total.
NBA has a D league. They don't call it minor league. So.
All right, and then let me move on. So this is what he said right here. Yeah, this is about greed, plain and simple. Closing down minor league teams like the Vermont Lake Monsters is a disaster for baseball fans, workers, and communities across the country. I will do all I can to fight it. All right, I'm just going to go on to the next one real quick while we're here. True or false? Biden reverses dangerous designation of Hutus as terrorist group. Is that true or is it false?
True.
I'm going to say true, because it is a cultural thing, and we know Biden will give us cultural wins, but he won't give us substantial wins.
All right, and the answer is true. Citing humanitarian impact, Biden reverses dangerous designation of Hutus as terrorist groups.
It's the Houthis, and this is not a cultural thing, because this is what they were using in order to sell weapons and help their opposition and kill them off.
Yeah. I'm going to do this last one. Do you guys remember this from 2 weeks ago? Anybody remember this, Congressman? I'm going to keep bringing this back because I want us to remember at some point, and I want my audience to remember, because we want this guy out. So I'm just going to give his name. His name was Kurt Schreider of Oregon, and he voted against the $2,000 stimulus checks. He was one of the Democrats that voted against that. So I'm going to keep bringing him back. So remember his name for next time. But my audience, all right. So let's move on to the next this video right here. Boom.
Can come in and provide shelter, food, and Medicare for all 254 counties. And the White House issuing a federal emergency declaration for the entire state of Texas. Governor Greg Abbott submitted the request over the weekend. This means FEMA can come in and provide shelter, food, and Medicare for all 254 counties.
So the reason why I clipped this, if you notice that last thing that was said, because of a winter storm and you know, God bless Texas, and I hope that everybody's safe out there. I saw a lot of bad videos of trucks sliding on the ice, but they're giving Medicare for all for a winter storm in Texas, for the whole state of Texas. But what about a pandemic? What about a global pandemic? Why can't we have Medicare for all throughout all 50 states? Why is it just for a winter storm?
That's what they were saying. That there's, I don't know if it was Kyle Kalinske, but he did a great video on Alaska, and they had some kind of emergency declaration up there, and because of that, the residents of that city or town or county got Medicare for the rest of their life because of that emergency designation, not just for that time period, but for the rest of the duration, whatever. We have to do some research, whatever that emergency was. And they theorized that the way that we could get Medicare for all as a country is the risk of COVID to the entire country requires that we all need Medicare for all effective immediately, and he could pass it through executive order in that sense. So that was the first time I had ever heard. I always heard that you could cancel student checks, you could raise the minimum wage, you could do all these other things pretty easily, but Medicare for all was one that I never thought that you could do so easily. And it seems that in this case that it would hold up the arguments in the court based on precedent. If this is a global pandemic that affects everyone, then in theory we're all, and you see how they're using it for Texas. So
but if you rule by the pen, you get dismantled by the pen. The next president, whoever it is, Ted Cruz, any Republican just comes in.
Yeah. Whatever, man. When Republicans are in charge, they do it anyway. So why, so whatever.
That's
that's the whole fear of the filibuster crap.
That's the whole thing. Like, Democrats have to go in because you got to see what's popular, right? So you believe in polls, Felipe, right? Like you were like 78% says the thing. So you got to go. If you go by the pen, what's popular, you take your chance, because now people are going to be like, you know what? They gave me this. We want somebody that's going to continue to give me this.
Exactly.
So we're going to go out and vote. But if you continue to say like, oh, well, all you do is fear, or you say, oh, well, Republicans don't get on board, like we have to respect the Constitution, whatever, because the Democrats are only the one that care about the Constitution. Republicans don't. So at that point, you continue to lose. So we here, 2021, we got nothing to lose at this point, because they have tried everything. They have tried to work with these people. They don't want to work with them. So I'd rather them take a chance and go all out. And then if we lose, we could say, well, you know what? At least they lost.
One of these. And again, Felipe, that's what you get.
It's putting the pressure on, just like we said, just like with all you put the pressure on them, they have to undo it. And once people get a taste of getting good health care that is at a reasonable rate that you pay through your taxes, but it's going to be a reasonable rate. I have a friend of mine that was paying $1,000 a month for health care and doesn't go to the doctor because it's overwhelming, the co-pays and this and all that. So it's like give Medicare for all. We pay it up front through taxes. It's not free. We pay for it, and then make sure that people can go to the doctor when they need to. They don't have to pick, am I going to eat, or am I going to go to the doctor? Or am I going to pay my rent? Am I going to pay this? Just healthcare should just be funded by taxes, just like the roads are, just like the police department and the fire department and everything else is. Just common sense.
Yo, but Don in the chat saying it's crazy the news hasn't said anything about it, but I mean, is it that crazy? You don't want to give other states any ideas.
Any Democrat states, it's good as long as it's a Republican-run states. Like, everybody's good with it.
Ralph Rodriguez.
Go ahead, Gabe. Go ahead, Gabe.
I said Ralph Rodriguez in the chat, but Texas getting Medicare for all is so socialist. I know it's always it's great for socialism when it goes to the Republican states, but if it goes to anybody else, it's not. If you look at the Republican states, they're the ones that receive the most welfare, the most Social Security, the most all that stuff, the most disability, and they always blame the other states, but there's really a lot of the blue states that are funding these social programs in the red states, but then it's not socialism. So they pick and choose when it's socialism.
100%. All right. So that's all the videos I got for right now. So we could pretty much riff on the discussions from here until the end of the show.
Questions in the chat. Do we got questions? Anybody got questions?
If anybody has any questions, let us know. But I want to take it back to that discussion on the $15 an hour minimum wage. Like, we have Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin, who are seriously considering blocking this reconciliation from going through because of it. Like, I would even say, let's do a political stunt where we say, okay, if Arizona doesn't want $15 an hour and West Virginia doesn't want it, we'll leave those two states out of the bill, and all the other states will go through and have $15 an hour. What do you guys think?
Oh, if only Pelosi had the cojones.
Yeah. No, Joe Manchin's entire argument against $15 minimum wage is just that the cost of living in West Virginia is much lower than everywhere else in the country, which I'm sure it is. It's not Miami. It's not it's not New York. It's not LA, but people still need to eat. Like, I'm sure people are still hungry, or people are still on welfare in West Virginia.
And it's not like $15 is, I mean, $15 would have been good 20 years ago. Yeah. You know, right now, that's not even enough.
We don't want people making the minimum wage of $30,000 a year, because I believe that's what the $15 an hour when you extrapolate it over a year, a luxurious wage of $30,000. You know, you're going to be sipping champagne on yachts, 2 private yachts that you're going to own with your $30,000. It's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous argument. People need to have a reasonable living. It doesn't matter if you work at McDonald's. It doesn't matter if you work anywhere. If you work 40 hours a week in America, the American dream is being able to live and support 100%. Yourself and not have to rely on government handouts. You have to be able to make a living wage. FDR said that if any company that can't afford to pay a living wage does not deserve to exist. And that's something that we've abandoned from that time until now.
Yeah, because these companies are the ones that are paying all these politicians. That's why we have a one-party system. And, you know, when people talk about, like, I love, like, when I talk to all my friends, like, overseas, right? They always like, I don't understand why Americans are always, like, making, like, all this big deal about minimum wage. Like, here in Australia, people at McDonald's getting paid $15 an hour. Because you know, everybody always like, oh, good luck, I'm going paying your $12 for McDonald's. Well, McDonald's is $12 right now. Like, so it's not really like going to increase that much. It's just like, you know, everything is always about the shareholders.
I saw a study before, and I forgot the amount, but it was pennies. Like, if they had to give every employee $15 an hour, the cost of a Big Mac will go up pennies. So it's not some ridiculous amount.
Yeah, and they're going to
pass it even pass it off to the consumer, which they don't have to do. They will because of their shareholders, but they don't even have to pass that cost over to the consumer.
All they have to do, listen, every major company, all they have to do is just take $500,000 from the CEO, because the CEO goes in, because, you know, all these companies go in, they let people, they lay off 10,000 people and then give the CEO a $30 million paycheck. So all you have to do is that you just take even like 100,000, whatever it is, from all the CEO and say, you know what, we're not going to increase your pay by this crazy amount. I guarantee you there will be no effect. But it's always this notion of fear. Like, I guarantee you that in West Virginia, it doesn't matter how much cheap it is, you can't get a 2-bedroom for less than $800. So like, that's your rent. Like, you know, if you're making $15 an hour, at least you'll be able to eat. It makes some extra money. So, but the Democrats, again, the point is the Democrats need to put their own people on blast. You know, Chuck Schumer, if he was a leader, he will go say, you know what, we're going to bring this bill and you're going to be on record saying no. So when you go and run in 2024, 2025, whatever it is, we'll remember this.
That's why I love Kamala Harris going to West Virginia and showing up Joe Manchin and talking to the governor, and him talking about getting the stimulus. The love always on YouTube. She still ain't get her stimmy yet.
Yeah, we're
so it's all Joe Manchin's fault.
Thanks, Biden.
And then Ralph is talking about, he said that Biden and Dems need to get things done in the first 2 years, or else Congress, Senate will go red in 2022, which 100% I agree with that. If I would have went in there, I would have did an executive order to relieve the student loan debt, which is what Chuck Schumer is trying to do, to pressure him into doing an executive order of $50,000. And I would have had a bill that would have did the stimmy right away. Because he said immediately when he was campaigning in Atlanta, in Georgia, he said, immediately we're going to do this $2,000 check. And then he'd bring it down to $4,000. And he should have brought that up with the House and the Senate right away.
Listen, this is like campaign goal. Like, if you do that, you could go in and say, We promise you, you're gonna get 2,000 the first day. We'll deliver.
Here we go.
Anytime that you promise something, now people are gonna be like, "Oh, snap! They delivered for us last time, so they're gonna deliver again."
This time.
Now people are gonna be like, "Oh, you told me day 1. Now it's day 100, and I ain't getting nothing."
Exactly. So
sorry, but it's not retroactive. The student loans.
So that's one thing I want to talk about real quick is the student loans. It's always funny how they go, "Oh, we're gonna give you 10,000 or 50,000." You need to wipe the slate clean, but you can't just wipe it clean. You have to wipe it clean, and then you have to have a college for all program. Again, not free. We know that the cost of college for all is about $60 billion a year, or about 10%, $60 billion a year, which is about 10% of the defense budget. So if you just take 10% off of that defense budget, you get public college for all. It's not going to be private college. It's not going to be, glorious college. It's going to just be just like how we have public school going to 12th grade. Then you could either do a trade school if you want to do that. You could do like a 2+2 program, like a community college and then a state college. There's creative ways to make it as affordable as possible, but you have to couple the student debt cancellation with a plan, or else we're just going to end up with another bubble and even worse in another 10 years.
Why do you hate the military?
Why do I hate the military?
I'm going to bring back. I lied. I got one more video, and I'm going to switch it up. This was a classic from last week.
I'm very disturbed about your personal comments about people. It's not just one or two. I think you deleted about 1,000 tweets, and it wasn't just about Republicans. And I don't mind disagreements in policy. I think that's great.
Pause it.
I love the dialect.
Yeah. Pause it. Who are they talking about?
Me or Tandem.
All right, sorry, keep going.
Okay.
But the comments were personal. I mean, you call Senator Sanders everything but an ignorant slut.
That is not true.
And when you said these
it's not true. She also called him an ignorant slut.
Well, it's bad when Manchin is defending Sanders.
I
that's not Manchin.
Regret my comments.
I understand that.
And I feel badly about
That's racist.
I understand you've taken them back, but did you mean that?
I'd say the discourse over the last 4 years on all sides has been incredibly polarized.
I'm asking about yours. Did you mean them?
I really feel badly about them, Senator.
Did you mean them?
I feel badly about them.
She should have said she meant
about it.
I mean, I would say social media is
Did you mean them when you said them?
I feel terribly about them.
Did you mean them when you said them, or are you not telling the truth?
He will, because they don't care about us.
I mean, I feel badly. I look back at them. I said them. I feel badly about them. I deleted tweets over.
Are you saying that because you want to be confirmed?
Bernie's not going to.
No, I felt badly about them. And
did you mean them when you said them?
He will, with my mouth.
Senator, I must have meant them, but I really regret them.
Let's do a political junkies bet. Will Bernie vote to confirm Tandon?
Of course.
I want the record to reflect that I did not call Senator Sanders an ignorant slut. Okay.
Hey, doorknob head is disturbed by those jowls.
Senator King. Thank you.
Listen to this guy.
Mr. Chair, excited about your leadership. And to Ms. Tandon, congratulations. I have 6 questions that are susceptible probably to yes/no answers, really short.
Oh, look who it is. It's Tim Kaine. Hello.
This guy comes with the easy softball questions. Softball questions.
Tim Kaine.
That's my senator. How I'm going to work with them from the aisle. I got to bring my Republican colleague over.
Yeah.
So Rafael Rodriguez on YouTube got it right. That's Kennedy from Louisiana, Republican. And we were talking about this a little maybe last week, how I read an article about him, how his, down to earth, country accent, whatever, it's all fake. This is like an Oxford educated dude. He's like one of the most educated politicians in the whole Senate. And he tries to fake, like people that know him said that there's a pre-Senate Kennedy and a post-Senate Kennedy because he changed even the way he speaks. Because he wants to sound more down to earth and less educated than what he really is, or something, I guess.
That's like when Hillary does her Southern accent. Yeah, it comes out of her. You're like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Man, so all right, we come to the end of the show.
One last thing.
Yeah,
one last thing for me.
Your attendance is trash.
That I wanted to get in on the student cancellation debt. So like Gabe said, right? Like right now, I could buy $100,000 car at like 1%, 0%, 2% interest rate. I'll buy, you could buy a $600,000 house at 2%, but I can't go to school for less than like 6.8. So even if you don't go in 100%, at least give me something that the interest rate is like 1% or 1.5% that I could at least afford it, because you have these people going in at 7%, 8%, 10%, and they spending all the first 20 years just playing interest rate.
I'm gonna blow your mind.
Those loans allow negative amortization. They just grow. You can pay the rest of your life and die with student loans.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Gabe.
I'm gonna blow your mind. That's because a mortgage and a car loan are collateralized, but there's no collateral on your student knowledge that you have, so they can't go and repossess you. So that's why they don't want to charge. But they really should charge 1% because it's the only loans that you could get that are guaranteed. You can't wipe them off in bankruptcy. There's zero risk to a student loan. They're going to be paying forever. So in that case, they should be the lowest rate loans out there, even though they're not collateralized.
Because they're okay with robbing the government. That's why. If it was a corporation, they want to save them because socialism for the rich. But I wanted to say one more thing regarding this and the military. I tell you hate the military for giving them money, but not really for cutting their budget. But I was watching this video about the insurrection and how so many people there were either active or former military, and now they're having that stand down in order to kind of weed out who are the insurrectionists and racist people in there. And the point of the video was that the military, they want to have to pick like the best and the brightest. They want to have this idea that they want to have the best people out there. But unfortunately, a lot of the people that go there, they basically go for either one of the reasons they go to just for need. They just need money. They're stuck in their town for the whole life. They don't have to they don't have the opportunity to travel. Like a lot of us who go to college out of the city where we live in, out of the state, you get to meet other people, you become more rounded, and you're able to basically you can discern facts better. You become more educated. You're not able to get sucked into something like Trump so easily because you've been able to talk to a lot of people, when you meet in college for a lot of us. And that's one perfect reason why we should have paid for, public college or something like that. Because when people have a chance to travel, to go to college, to become more educated, when they go into the military, they have better critical thinking skills and they don't become sucked into this insurrectionist type of stuff.
You just want them to be liberal brainwashed in these liberal institutions. That's what you want.
I mean, hey, we all know that the people that are, that are least racist is because they actually had a chance to interact with people from other races.
Oh, it's true. The same thing, homophobia, anything. When you know somebody that you've never met, it's easier to have fears of them. And when you meet somebody that is of a different orientation, different culture, different race, it's hard to have those prejudices.
All right, so I'm going to jump in here and I'm going to just show two things here. First, Bernie Sanders will vote for Narratan despite battling with
Good
her
night.
over
Good night.
tweets.
Wow, see, the worst politician in history.
That's the first thing. And then the second thing is this is the person that Gabe and I were talking about. His name is John Fetterman. And that's him there, right? They should have a big picture of his face. There he is, right?
Wow,
Gabe. Gabe left.
Gabe
all right,
left.
so this is the person that we were talking about. He's running for the U.S. Senate. He endorsed
Fetterman.
Yeah, there we go. He endorsed Bernie Sanders back in 2016, and he's a true progressive. You can look at his issues page here, and
I'm gonna clip up some stuff for next week about him that we can show.
Why is
all right,
Bernie
cool.
so bad?
And then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to give the chat room some love on our way out. Carlito, you want to do the honors, or anybody? Izzy, we haven't heard from you, my man. You want to give the chat some love?
Doorknob had a good comment. He said, I went into the military for money for college, and he called it a scam, basically. And we had a lot of good interaction from Rafael Rodriguez today, the love always. Good. Pretty much everybody who answered the trivia got it right, including Nancy Vancher and let's see who else. I think we got everybody.
Rafael Rodriguez, thanks for coming through. Mm-hmm.
Actions speak louder than words. Gabe, what did you do to my internet? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
All right, that's everybody? All right.
That's because of the hot topics we're talking about. They're gonna deplatform us.
Uh-oh. All right, much love to my people. My Felipe, John, Izzy, Carlito, Gabe, you could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, the political junkies. And once again, if you're here with us, you're a political junkie too. Much love to you as we come on our way out. And next week, we'll see you again, Monday, 8 p.m. Go check out Judas and the Black Messiah. Great movie about the Black Panthers. And we'll see you next week. Much love.
Like, subscribe, and then if you're into esports and Call of Duty, phase up.
Yep.
Every Monday, 8 p.m. Same spot, same bat channel.
Come and get disappointed by Bernie Sanders.
Much love.